Yes, so of course, thank you for joining us today. Uh, this webinar today is the first one of its kind. As you know, some of you have been with us for a really, really long time now, and we are committed to and actually believe in making sure that we are able to upskill, provide learning opportunities, answer your questions, get feedback from you all, and that has always been the goal. We continuously strive to make sure that we try and help you out with as many things as as we can about our system, give you the opportunity to interact with us. We should have the opportunity to interact with you guys and know more about how we can better the system, what products we're offering, what you guys think about those. So in an attempt for to do all of that, and keeping in mind the times we are in are not the same, they are unusual times which call for certain changes in the way we are doing things. We have introduced a monthly series of a webinar called This Month at Reseller Club, which will, which it'll be a monthly series. Every month there'll be a different topic we will approach you guys with, and each webinar will have 3 distinct sections. We'll be talking about, we'll just talk about the product first, just explain what the particular product is, move on to updates from Reseller Club. We'll tell you what we have in store for you, and of course, end it with anything that you'd like to ask us. Today's session is primarily on email. We will begin the day by talking about, email, just explain email hosting, move on to some updates from us and our products and services. And lastly, of course, happy to answer all the questions that you guys have. So before we move forward, I quickly explain the panel that you all have. The software that we are using, and want to quickly make sure you understand how to use it. The left side is the desktop view, and the right side is the mobile view, as you can see. There are 3 options available. The question mark is where you can actually submit all your questions, so feel free at any point during the event to actually keep asking questions, because we want to hear as much from you, so we can either answer all of them in the event itself, or we will make sure we answer it at some point in time, but won't leave you hanging and not answer any of them. We'll answer all of them. And then we have raise your hand, which is this little hand icon, just to make sure everybody's around. There might be sometimes in the webinar today where we'll ask you to raise your hands. It'd be great if you can just help us click on that button and show that you're there. And lastly is the handouts, and we have actually some handouts for you there. So at any point during the event, you will have access to that completely. So without further ado, can you guys hear me clearly? And if yes, please raise your hands just by using the same raise hands that we discussed. Okay, I'm seeing quite a few hands being raised. That's fantastic then. Yeah, I'm audible. Thank you for that, guys. Moving on, I won't take much of your time. We have the specialist here with us today, Rahul. He is a senior team lead from the tech team, and I'm simply going to hand it over to him for his introduction and to take the event further. So, Rahul, I'm just going to share the screen with you, and I'm going to change the presenter.
Show me now. Yeah, thank you.
Over to you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Guys, a quick, I just want to see if you can hear me clearly. Can you please have a quick raise of hands so that I know that even I am audible? Yeah, can see quite a few hands here. Yeah, so I believe I am audible. Thank you, Meenal, for introducing me. I will just take it ahead from here. So hello, everyone. My name is Rahul, and I'm a senior team lead at Reseller Club. At Reseller Club, we believe in empowering our clients, and hence we go ahead and create multiple YouTube videos so that we can share our information with them. So this is one of my videos which I had made, So if you can see this, if you all have seen this video, can I see a quick raise of hands? Yeah, I do see some. Thank you. So moving on today's agenda, we're going to start with understanding what is email. So basically explaining what is an email hosting, what are the different aspects that are involved in email hosting. Moving on to what are the new features and updates that Reseller Club has to offer. And followed by the question and answer round. I'll try and answer as many as questions as possible. And if there is anything that is missed, we will definitely get back to you on an email and explain the details with you. So for the question and answer segment, I will be first addressing the questions that has come in before the webinar. Post that, I will be available for 10 minutes after the thank you slide to answer the questions that you have right now. Let's take a quick poll over here. Which of these segments are you most interested in? This is basically mainly on those topics that we just discussed, that is emails explained, updates from Reseller Club, and the question and answer.
Waiting for the results to come in, Rahul. Just a few
Yeah.
seconds, please. All right, I think we're good.
Yeah, thank you for that. Moving on, and email services explained. So what is email hosting? Now, most of us use email services to communicate during our businesses, but how exactly does an email hosting service work? An email hosting is a service that helps all your email messages and its associated files to be stored on the server. When an email is sent to your registered email address, it is routed across the internet and then stored on the server. At this point, the server decides what action needs to be placed based on the anti-spam filters, the rerouting requests, autoresponders. It also goes ahead and checks if the sender who is sending an email is a blacklisted user or is a genuine user. An email hosting server can be the same server which is hosting your website content. It could also be a server which is managed by another host, or it could be two different servers managed by the same hosting company. Email servers and email clients. Now, this is some terms that we are always using, and when we hear it every time. Email servers and email clients are basically used for sending and receiving emails on the internet. The only difference between them is how do you access them and how do you use them. This image that you see is basically a small architecture of how an email is sent from one server to the other server. So let's quickly go through this and understand how an email is delivered. Let's say a sender basically uses a Gmail interface to send an email. A Gmail interface is something that can be accessed via a browser, or it can be also accessed via your mobile phones. Any client application that is used to send and receive email is called as an MUA, which means a mail user agent. This could be a desktop or a mobile application like Outlook or Thunderbird, or it could be also a URL that you're running on your web browser. When an email is delivered, it now hits the sender's email address. That's the sender's email server where the email inbox is stored. The MTA on that server is basically a software which receives the email from the MUA, that's your mail user agent, and stores the email. It now checks for the recipient's email server, and that is done through a DNS query. It runs a DNS query to find the MX record and identifies where is the email of the recipient. It identifies the email server's location and uses the MTA, that's the mail transfer agent, to transfer the email from one server to the other server. So MTA is basically responsible for receiving the emails from the MUA as well as transferring the email from one server to another server. Once the MTA on the recipient server receives the email, it now internally transfers the email to the mail delivery agent, that's the MDA. MDA now performs two different actions. First one is basically to transfer the email to the respective inbox of the user. Also, it assists the MUA in downloading the email based on what protocol is used. MTA uses one protocol, and that is the SMTP, whereas MDA, when it's communicating with the MUA, that's your mail user agent, it uses the protocols POP and IMAP. Since the email is right now in your inbox, your email client like Outlook or Thunderbird would refresh its screen to check if there are any new mails received. As soon as there's a new email, your email client, that's Outlook on the recipient's end, will try to refresh and download or sync the email based on the connection that is used. And that's how the recipient would receive the email on its MUA and read it using the email client. How to configure an email on an email client? To access an email, basically you can either use a web-based URL or you can use an email client. Now, understanding how we would prefer to read the emails, most of them, since we are busy, we would always like to read emails either on a desktop or it would be easy to read it on an email client like a mobile phone. To configure an email on an email client, these are the few things that are required: the username, the password, and the mail server name. The mail server name is something that is always provided by the email service provider. In order to configure an email client, there are two important things. One is incoming mail protocol and the outgoing mail protocol. They all perform different functions. POP is basically used to download emails, and this is used when you have a single device and you want to sync your email client with your email server. Once the sync is done, any email that is there on your server is downloaded to your local system. This allows you to basically even read emails offline as well as save the space on your email server since the mails are downloaded to your local system. IMAP, it's a protocol that is used to sync multiple devices to your email server. So if you have multiple devices like your mobile phone, laptop, your desktop connected to the same server, it is always recommended to use IMAP as it does not download the email, but it syncs the email with the email server. Outgoing protocol is SMTP. SMTP is a protocol used to send emails from the email client to the email server. These are the different settings for email clients that are provided at Reseller Club. You can opt to choose either a non-SSL setting or an SSL setting. In a non-SSL setting, you can brand your URLs with your company name. For example, if you see, it shows as imap.domainname.com. You can have imap.yourcompanyname.com with the port numbers as 143. For POP, it would be pop.yourcompanyname.com with the port number as 110. At the same time, we also offer SSL settings. The only problem over here is basically you cannot use the branded URLs. You would be having to use the unbranded host names that are provided with the port numbers 993 and 995 respectively, with the authentication as SSL/TLS. For outgoing, we have the port numbers 25 and 587. 25 being a default port of SMTP is basically blocked by most of the ISPs to prevent spamming and spoofing. And hence, it's always recommended at our end to use the port numbers as 587, as this helps you in sending emails seamlessly. So a short quiz over here. What software is used to send emails from one server to the other?
Waiting for results to come in.
Sure, Tanya.
These are the results, Rahul.
Yeah. So thank you for the answer. And I can see we have almost everyone selecting the MTA, which is the right answer. But yes, we also have polls for MUA. Basically, MUA is also used to send emails, but it is sending an email between an email client and an email server. When you are sending an email between two servers, it's MTA, that's the mail transfer agent, that is responsible for sending emails. The email ecosystem at Reseller Club. Now, here we're going to see a short idea or like a short architectural view about what we have to offer at Reseller Club. Any email services that we have, these are the architectures that we have it for it. Multiple outbound and inbound servers are associated with multiple IP addresses so that we can have a balance on the emails that are sent. This helps in load balancing and reduce the load on the server. We have effective rules that are set on the server, which helps in identifying unsolicited and unwanted emails and prevent them from accessing the inbox of the user. We run thorough scans on all the emails that are sent or received on our servers. For DNS RBL check, we also have checks in place for the hostname and the IP address that is responsible for sending emails. We ensure that none of our IPs are listed on the RBLs or their databases. IP reputations, rotation for better IP reputation. Multiple outbound servers are associated with multiple IP addresses, and hence, whenever an email is delivered, the emails are sent through different IPs. This helps in balancing the load as well as ensuring the IP reputation. Dedicated storage for each email inbox. Whenever you purchase a business email or an enterprise email with us, the total amount of space that is informed is the entire space that is given to you for your emails. DNS records for authentication. Now, when it comes to sending an email, we always are curious to know if the email is a genuine email or it's a spoof or a spam email. So at Reseller Club, we provide you with those multiple records like SPF and DKIM that helps you to validate and ensure no spamming or spoofing is being done. Let's see what are the records in the next slide. The first one that we have is an SPF record, which means a sender policy framework. It basically helps the server to identify which server is responsible for sending an email on behalf of your domain name. An SPF record basically helps to detect and prevent spammers from sending spoofed emails using your domain name. So if I have for an example, we have domain.com, and this is the record that is provided for our business and enterprise email. It shows as v is equal to SPF1, which is the version for SPF. Redirect is a modifier. We also have a mechanism which is called as include equals to underscore spf.mailosbox.com. This underscore spf.mailosbox.com is basically the address of the server who is responsible for sending emails on behalf of domain.com. To see a quick example about how SPF works, we have an example.com which is using the Gmail service. When you create an SPF record, you mention that any email that is sent from example.com should be sent via the Google Mail server. When a recipient receives the email, the recipient runs a SPF record check on the sender's domain. It identifies if the email that is sent or received is a valid email or not. If the message comes from the server other than the Google Mail server, the recipient server can go ahead and reject the email because that's a spam or a spoofed email here. The DKIM and the DMARC records. The domain key identifier email is basically a record that helps to validate the authenticity of an email. When an email is sent from one server to the other server, we need to also ensure that there has been no alterations that are done through the email during the transit. And hence, whenever a DKIM record is added, it's a public key that is added to the DNS zone. Every email that is sent from the outbound server has a private key signed over it on the message header. And then it's validated at the recipient server using the public key that is mentioned in the DNS zone. If the key pair matches, that means there was no alteration on the email during the transit. DMARC, domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. This is right now in the booming phase where we have seen a lot of DMARC records being added to the email services. A DMARC record is nothing but it's a TXT record that's added in the DNS zone, and it helps to identify what needs to be done with those emails that has failed the authentication checks, basically which have failed the SPF and the DKIM checks. It informs the server should it quarantine, should it reject, or should it allow the emails that are delivered. It also informs the recipient where to send the aggregate report of DMARC, the email address. That's the email address. V is equal to DMARC1 is basically the version. P is basically the policy where you decide is should it quarantine, should it reject, or should it allow the mails that are being rejected. And mail to is basically the email address where the recipient server would send an email about the entire report for all the emails that were rejected at their end. So all these three records that you see, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, together works in having a proper authentication on all your emails that are sent and ensure that you are not being a victim or you are not sending any spam, spoof, or phishing emails. Domain ownership and verification. Why did we have to introduce this option? In the past, we have received multiple connects where people go ahead and register email services even without a domain name. These email services were used to send a lot of spam emails, which used to have an impact on the IP reputation. And hence, we started with this process of having a domain verification and ownership process. This helps us to identify the genuine user. It also helps us to prevent the abuse of services, as well as improve the IP reputation. Now, how do you go ahead and complete the verification process? In order to complete the verification process, the DNS record that you see at the bottom is basically an SPF record. This record is by default provided whenever you purchase an email service with us. If you're using our DNS zone, this record is by default added in the DNS zone. And if you're using a third-party DNS zone, you need to copy this record and add it in the third party's DNS zone. Once the propagation is completed, the verification process will be completed. It's a one-time validation process which is done during the initial purchase. And if a user can only create an email account now only once the verification is completed. Now, since this is an SPF record that needs to be added in the DNS zone, we always know that there is a propagation delay that happens because of the ISP as well as the records that are added in the DNS zone. In order to reduce the propagation time and the reduce wait time, we have enabled both public and local DNS resolvers as primary and secondary, so that the verification process is completed instantly and you can start using your email services with us. A quick question about which record is used to complete the domain verification process.
Results coming in.
Thank you, Tanya.
All right, there we are.
Okay. Thank you for the update. I can see that it's a mixed batch of answer. I can see MX, I can see DKIM, and I can also see SPF records being selected. The correct answer for this question is basically the SPF record, which needs to be added in the DNS zone of a domain name. MX is basically only used to identify the email server, which is supposed to receive the emails. And DKIM is basically used to ensure that when an email is sent from one server to the other, there is no alterations during the transit. So these are the records which are used for authentication, but the one that is used for domain verification and ownership is the SPF record. So going forward, if you have to complete the verification process, ensure you're adding the SPF record in your DNS zone or the third party's DNS zone based on the name servers that you're using. Split delivery with Gmail. Now, split delivery has been a trend at this current moment because people would always prefer to use multiple email systems. What does a split delivery help you in? A split delivery helps you to get an email for a single domain name on two different email systems. For example, I can have some part of my company's email to be delivered on Gmail, whereas some part of the emails can be delivered to the legacy system. It could be any other email service provider. At our end, at Reseller Club, we have business email and enterprise email, which works in sync with the split delivery option. Now, split delivery being a service provided by Gmail, the first thing that comes into picture is if you want to use this service, you need to start using the DNS records of Gmail. So the MX records that are provided by Gmail is the first step of starting with the split delivery option. Once the records are added in the DNS zone, we wait for the propagation, and post that there are 4 steps that needs to be done to complete the split delivery with Gmail. I'll just take you through the screenshots. I know it's a bit cropped up screenshots, but you can also refer to the handout that is provided with you. You can just download them and you can refer to the steps that are provided in the handout. To quickly take you through the screenshots, the first option that we have is a create host option. Now, when an email is received at Gmail and if the email account does not exist on Gmail, where exactly is it supposed to deliver the email? Okay. Now, this option that is create a host is where you specify the address of your secondary email server. That's either your legacy system or in the screenshot, I am specifying the address of our business email server. If you can see, it's us2.mx3.mailhostbox.com. That's basically the MX record for business email. Once you create a host, the next option that you have is for which emails are you supposed to set the routing. That is, which messages should this affect. Here, since it's an inbound email, you need to select the option inbound and internal receiving. So if there is an internal email that is sent from Gmail, or if it's a third party person who's sending you an email, it will set the routing for those specific email accounts. The last option that we have is basically the option where you modify the routing. Here you select what is the route setting and you select the host that was created in the first option. Once you set that, this informs the Gmail server that if an email is sent and if that email account specific is not available on Gmail, it has to route it to the business email where the email account might be present. The second last option that we see over here is select an account type. So here we decide to which email should this be actioned. Should it action the emails which are already existing on Gmail, or should it action to those emails which are not there on Gmail, and should it be done for all those catch-all emails? So whenever an email is sent, when you select the last option that is select account type, there is an option called as catch-all or unrecognized emails. What this option does is if an email is sent to an email address that is at Gmail, it will check first if that email account exists on Gmail. If it exists, it will deliver the email. If it does not, it goes ahead, checks for the host and checks for the legacy system. That's the business email over here. And now it delivers the email to the business email package. That's how a split delivery works. The last option that we have over here is SPF records for validation. As we have seen in the previous slide, SPF record is basically used to inform the recipient server which server is responsible for sending an email. Now in this case, your domain name is currently using two different email systems. One is Gmail and the other one is a business email. So when you send an email, the server needs to know which server is authorized to send an email. And hence what we have done over here is we have clubbed the SPF record with both. Include underscore spf.mailhostbox.com is the SPF of business email, and include colon underscore spf.google.com is the SPF record for Google. So whenever an email is sent from your domain name, any recipient server will identify that either a business email or a G Suite can send an email from this domain name. And that's how you can prevent spoofing and spamming from these email accounts. Why choose business email? We have always seen at support, we have received multiple comparisons between a shared hosting email server as well and a standalone business or an enterprise email. Now, when we go to compare these services, they are based on multiple options that you can see on the screen. The storage, Now on the shared hosting server, we get limited storage, and this space is shared between your web as well as your email. So as and when your web files keeps on increasing, or if you have a e-commerce website, the content of the website might increase, that might reduce the space for your emails. When it comes to business and enterprise, you are given with a dedicated email storage. So if you're purchasing an email with a 5 GB, entire 5 GB is associated with your domain or your email account, and you can use it to the fullest. IP blacklisting. What happens on a shared hosting package is people are allowed to use scripts, and people also install CMSs which are using plugins. So there's a high chance that a script or a plugin can be attacked or have a malware, because of which multiple spam emails can be routed through those servers, which can impact the reputation of the IP and hence have an impact on the emails that are sent. But on the business or enterprise email, we have multiple outbound servers and inbound servers associated with the multiple IPs, which helps you in routing emails, safeguarding the reputation of the IP address. When you go to see a shared hosting package interface, like we have with cPanel, we have Roundcube, Squirrel Mail, and Horde, whereas with Windows, we have Horde and we have Mail Enable. Now, these are UIs which have limited resources, limited widgets, and you cannot customize the look and the feel of your UI. But at Business Email, you are given a complete customizable UI with a lot of widgets that can improve your experience. The sending limits also might be stringent on a shared hosting server, as they need to safeguard the reputation of the IP address. Because if the IP address gets listed, it's not only you, but there are other people on the server who will not be able to send emails. As said on business and enterprise email, we do have outbound servers which are located with multiple IP addresses, and hence every email that is routed through a different IP. This helps in ensuring the IP reputation. Hence, if you're looking for a professional email service, it is always recommended to move on to a standalone email service like a business or an enterprise, rather than having a shared email hosting server. The updates that we have to offer from Reseller Club. Now, we have at support, we have received a lot of complaints when it comes to the old email address, the old webmail interface that we used to have. Some of the complaints that I can remember about is slowness, where the webmail interface takes too much amount of time to load, or it ends up throwing an error message where you're not able to access the interface. Now, to ensure that our customer experience is not impacted, what we have done is we have revamped the entire old webmail and moved on to the new webmail interface. This is a complete customizable webmail interface that we have to now offer you, which is a custom made with our developers. And it also provides you with multiple widgets which you can use for your service. To tell you about the speed, basically, as I said, the most common errors or the most common issues that we received was the webmail page loading slow. So the page load speed is basically how we track and identify the amount of time that is taken to load the webmail URL. If you can see, the new webmail URL right now takes only 3.5 seconds to load, compared to an old webmail that we had that was taking 10.82 seconds. And that actually ensures that you are now able to load your webmail URL with that speed. Transaction time is the total amount of time to perform three actions. The first one is to load the webmail URL. The second one is to sign into your control panel. And the third one is to sign out. The clubbing time that is taken to perform all these actions is called as a transaction time. If you see the new webmail, it takes only 10 seconds to perform all these actions, whereas the old webmail interface used to take around 21 seconds. This is to just ensure that our webmail interfaces are now not being a problem for the client and helping them to access their webmail interface and have a better experience. As I said, with the new webmail, we have come up with multiple features. The first one that I have to talk about is the signature builder. It helps you to create your business signature with a variety of templates that are provided below. It also allows you to add your company logo as well as have social media links added to your signature. Any email that is sent from your email server would be having these signatures appended by default. You can choose to stop it, or you can also have this option enabled by default. The best option over here is once the email signature is created, You can export that signature and use it for any application of your choice. We also provide an extensive calendar, which helps you to plan your events accordingly. With this calendar, you can share the calendar as well as the events. As soon as an event is added to a calendar, this can be shared with the team members and they can see the same event on their respective calendars. It can be also shared with public. We are currently working on that process. It should be done as soon as possible. The other option that we have is a widget sidebar, which is a column on the right-hand side of your webmail interface. This is a quick glance which can give you the information that you want to look at. The first option that we have is the agenda, which tells you about what are the events and the plans that you have on your calendar. The second one is the quote. The third one is the weather based on the geographical location or the country or the city that you add in. You can also play around with the UI and the skins for those weather application. The last option that we have is a news feed where we provide news in 5 different languages. You can also opt to choose different articles in the news based on the RSS feed. Like for example, on the news channel, if I want to just look at the sports section, I can just copy the sports RSS feed and add it over here, and I'll be only able to see the sports section. Customizable skin. With the new webmail interface, we don't want to tie you up with the interface that we are providing. We give you multiple interface skins where you can choose from. By default, there are 4 skins that are provided. You can also choose from a variety of colors as well as the default templates that are provided to modify the URL, to modify the content or the look and the feel of your webmail. The upcoming feature. Again, this is one of the most awaited feature, as I know everyone wants to know about it. It's the add-on storage. The add-on storage is basically a block of storage that can be added to any email account of your choice. Each block is sold for a particular price, which has 5 GB of space. You can purchase n number of blocks and you can associate it with any email account of your choice, helping you to increase only the size of a specific email account and not the entire domain name. This is the new skin that we are working around. I believe this looks very familiar, right? It's just like Gmail. Exactly. The whole idea of having this kind of a skin was to make sure that people are easily able to traverse through the webmail interface, so that since they are well acquainted with the Gmail, they can easily go ahead and click on those buttons and read emails, compose emails, and use the other features that we have to provide. Moving on to the last section, that's Ask Reseller Club. Here I'm going to answer some of the questions that we have received before the webmail, before the webinar that we had before the webinar. So these are some of the questions that we have. I'm just going to quickly read out the questions and give you the answers for the same. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Is it easy to migrate from G Suite to business email and vice versa? Do you provide migration tools from business email to G Suite? Yes, it's easy to migrate G Suite to business. We have an option under the business email panel, which is called as the IMAP sync. 3 default information that is required for making this migration is basically the email address, the IMAP server name, and the port number. Once this is added, you will be able to transfer all the emails from G Suite to business email. To go vice versa, basically from a business email to G Suite provides an option called as data migration. This tool also uses the same set of information. You can just add the email address, the IMAP server, and the port number, and this will help you to migrate all the emails from business email to G Suite. Does business email use TLS? Yes, business email uses TLS for its incoming servers, that is IMAP and POP. Whereas for sending emails, that is SMTP, it uses start TLS. A start TLS is not that different from SSL or TLS. It's only basically it informs the server that you're currently using a non-secure channel, move this channel to a secure channel. So it starts the TLS on the email server and sends an email using a secure channel. Can there be an option to increase a particular mailbox instead of all the mailbox in a single domain name? As I said, add-on storage is something that is coming in the store. We are looking out for coming out with this feature by almost at the end of August. So I believe this option can definitely help you, as you can purchase n number of blocks and associate it with any email account and increase the space of a specific email account. Business email should be upgradable to enterprise email. It is possible since many years to restrict features and provided advanced features for various plans for the same product. In fact, just like G Suite, you should provide the option to increase space beyond 30 GB. Yes, we have taken this up and we are in the process of giving an option to upgrade business email to enterprise email. This is currently in the pipeline and our development team is currently working on this process. At the same time, when it comes to increasing the size, yes, you can opt to use an enterprise email, which has 30 GB, and then add the blocks to increase the size more than 30 GB. Whereas if you're using a business email, which comes with 5 GB, you can still buy these additional blocks and add it to them to increase the size based on your requirement. Will not cloud hosting with unlimited space be a good option for email hosting, as well as if the number of email accounts increases for the customer? Yes, cloud hosting with unlimited space can be used for your email accounts, as it can help you in creating multiple email accounts on the email server. But at the same time, you should also understand a cloud hosting server is again a shared server which is used by multiple people, where they would be running scripts and plugins to run and send emails. This can actually have an impact on the IP reputation, which can have a problem while sending emails. It totally depends upon the use case of a user. So you can opt to choose a cloud hosting for sending emails, or a standalone like a business or an enterprise email to send emails. I have been complaining since many years that many times the webmail interface / panel takes a long time to load, but you guys open it at your end and reply that everything is okay. This leaves the customer frustrated. In opening, on a scale of 1 to 10, if G Suite is 10, you are just 3. I'm really sorry for seeing this, that this has been a problem for you. And I believe that this was a problem that you were seeing with the old webmail. But to make sure, like as we just said, like we used to get a lot of complaints regarding the webmail interfaces being slow, and that's the whole reason for revamping the old webmail and moving on to the new webmail. Now, as I just shared the slides where it clearly states that the page load speed is right now at 3.5 seconds, and this should actually tackle the problem that you're facing and help you to log into the panel, access the emails, and sign out in a jiffy. Enterprise email pricing does not go down even if we select it for 12 months, and there is no option about 12 months. I have definitely spoken to my marketing team about it, and we have identified that there are offers that are going on a particular business email package. Hence, on enterprise email, since we do not have any current offers that are going on, that's why the pricing for all the tenures are looking at the same price. Yes, this is an option, that is, you need to have an option for more than 12 months. I'll definitely take this as a feedback and I will be passing it on to my marketing team. I will be now online for the next 10 minutes after the next slide to answer all the questions that you have via chat. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you and sharing my part of information with you.